Hello everyone and welcome back to Terror Show. The letter arrived on a stormy night, its edges charred, as if it had been plucked from a fire. Clara's name was scrawled in jagged, ink-black letters, the sender. Her estranged aunt, Agatha, whom she hadn't seen in over a decade. The letter spoke of an inheritance, a sprawling estate nestled deep in the Blackwood Forest. But there was a condition. Clara had to spend 7 nights in the house to claim it. Clara, a struggling artist, saw this as her chance to start over. She packed her bags and drove through the winding, fog-drenched roads to Blackwood. The estate loomed ahead, its Gothic spires piercing the stormy sky. The air smelled of damp earth and decay. As she stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind her, and the whispers began. The house was a labyrinth of shadows and secrets. Clara explored the dusty halls, her footsteps echoing eerily. In the study, she found a portrait of her aunt, her eyes seeming to follow Clara as she moved. That night, she slept in the master bedroom, but sleep never came. At midnight, the clock struck 13, and the whispers grew louder. She woke to the sound of scratching. Something was clawing at the foot of her bed. When she mustered the courage to look, she saw nothing. But the sheets were torn, and deep gouges marred the wooden bed frame. The next morning, Clara discovered an antique mirror in the attic. Its surface was cracked, and the frame was adorned with strange symbols. As she cleaned it, her reflection shifted. For a moment, it wasn't her staring back, it was a gaunt, hollow-eyed woman with a twisted smile. That night, Clara woke to the sound of laughter. The mirror was glowing faintly, and the woman from her reflection stepped out, her movements jerky and unnatural. She whispered Clara's name, her voice echoing as if from a great distance. Clara fled the room, but the laughter followed her down the hall. On the third night, Clara found a hidden door beneath the staircase. It led to a basement filled with jars of preserved organs and strange ritualistic symbols carved into the walls. In the center of the room was a stone altar, stained with dried blood. As she turned to leave, the door slammed shut. The air grew cold, and the whispers became screams. Shadows writhed on the walls, forming grotesque shapes. Clara felt something brush against her, a cold, skeletal hand. She screamed and pounded on the door until it finally opened, revealing nothing but the empty hallway. Clara found her aunt's journal in the study. The entries spoke of a ritual to summon a powerful entity, a being that could grant immortality. But the ritual required a sacrifice, a blood relative. Agatha had tried to summon the entity, but failed, and the house had claimed her instead. The final entry was a warning: the hollow veil is thinning, it will take a soul to close it. On the 6th night, Clara decided to confront the entity. She followed the instructions in the journal, gathering the items needed for the ritual: a black candle, a silver dagger, and a lock of her own hair. At midnight, she stood before the mirror and began the incantation. The air grew heavy, and the mirror's surface rippled like water. The gaunt woman stepped out again, but this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her was a towering, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes, the entity. It reached for Clara, its voice a deafening roar. Clara realized the only way to end the curse was to complete the ritual, but it required a sacrifice. As the entity closed in, she plunged the dagger into her own chest. The mirror shattered, and the entity let out an ear-splitting scream as it was dragged back into the void. The house fell silent, Clara's vision blurred, and she collapsed to the floor. But as her eyes closed, she saw the gaunt woman one last time, smiling. Days later, a real estate agent arrived at the house to prepare it for sale. As she stepped inside, she felt an unnatural chill. In the study, she found Clara's journal, open to the final page. The words were written in a shaky hand, The hollow veil is thinning. It will take a soul to close it. The agent turned to leave, but the door slammed shut. Behind her, the mirror began to glow.